Welcome guys to Breathwork for Lung Health. This is almost like a class actually, or a workshop really, because it's a bit spontaneous where we try different exercises out to improve our respiratory health. Especially in times where there are dangers, with the pandemic about increased sensitivity and awareness. I think it's more important than ever now to really just bring almost, if it's just awareness, to how our lungs are in the world. So we're going to be practicing different exercises together that I use that have helped me in my journey to lung health, which has been a journey, by the way, because I was very asthmatic all of my life. I had a continual history with chest infections and bronchitis. But since I became a breathwork facilitator, or since I started doing breathwork and then become a breathwork facilitator, my lung health is immeasurably better. I still have my inhalers, but I use them maybe once a month now, if at all, in extreme circumstances. So there isn't one exercise that I'm going to advocate that has transformed my life. I think it's all the different exercises and just the awareness around breathworks that we do. So we're going to be trying some of the different exercises that I use and I teach. But also, because this is a live workshop, I also invite other people to lead breathworks as well, if there's techniques that they have practiced and used. And I know that at least two people here are breathworkers. Eric and Karen are very experienced teachers. And so Fiona, I don't know if you've ever taught anything online before?
No, so I'm a Pilates instructor.
Excellent. Well, you're a teacher.
And I'm doing online classes, relaxation, and trying to introduce our Pilates breathing techniques. So I'm just interested to understand other breathing techniques so I can gently introduce them into my Pilates instruction.
Excellent. Brilliant. Well, if you're an experienced space holder, then there'll be a space to lead us with all that. So we'll be here for somewhere like an hour and 15, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. It's a little bit.
So I've got a class, so I need to dip out just before 6, if that's all right.
Absolutely fine. No problems with that at all. Okay. We all good with that? All happy with that kind of format?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, well, let's start off, and I start this off almost all the time now, with taking 3 breaths together to really bring us into presence and to bring us into the room together. So find a place where you can just be still and be centered together. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Just having a few more people join us now. So welcome Anna and welcome Jane. We're just going to start today's workshop just with a little breathing exercise just to bring us into presence and bring us in together. So if you'd like to close your eyes and just start taking some breaths. Just start breathing and become aware of your physical body, where your body is being supported. Maybe where you're sitting down, maybe where your hands are lying. Feel your body with each breath. And then feel your body move with each breath. As you inhale and exhale, feel your chest rise and fall. And then on an inhale, I'd like you to take your awareness inside. To that still, quiet place within. Where your truest, highest, and wisest self resides. And I'd like you to just check in with how you are feeling, both physically and emotionally right now. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And really listen to the answer. And in a moment, we'll check in with that. But I'd like you to open your eyes now. Keep breathing, keep still. And if you feel comfortable, turn your camera on for the people who've just come in. And I want you to just start breathing. And if you can have Zoom on gallery view, just start to connect with the other people here. Take some breaths with each person here and feel them, feel their energy. Feel how they are. And if it's okay to keep your cameras off, but if you feel comfortable, I encourage you to turn your cameras on just for this bit so we can connect, but it's fine if that's not possible. Thank you, Anna. Welcome. So just keep looking around the room and breathing and connecting with people. And then I'm going to unmute everyone and we're going to take 3 breaths together. Or if you could unmute yourself as well, actually, I can't unmute everyone. And then really just feel the breaths that we take together. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming in. And for the people who've just come in, Anna and Jane and Sarah, welcome to Breathwork for Lung Health. This is let's give everyone a wave. Hi, everyone. It's not all serious taking breaths with each other. We have a little bit of fun with this as well. So we'll be here for about an hour and 15 minutes, depending how it goes. We'll be trying different breathwork techniques and exercises that encourage respiratory fitness. I also invite, if people have got exercises that they have experienced, that they have helped them, that they lead us in a breathwork as well. So my name is Benedict. I am the founder of Breathing Space School of Breathwork. And just to let you know, I record these interviews because I put them up onto YouTube. But if there are areas that, especially around the second exercise, really, because we've done the first exercise, then I will probably pause the recording so you feel able to share properly. So we've actually already done our first exercise, which was the breathing and checking in with ourselves. And it's a simple exercise, just really breathing and going inside and checking in. It's not a complicated one, but it is a really important exercise to do. Because too often in our lives, we don't really allow ourselves to feel. We don't really check into how we're feeling. We don't really often know how we're feeling. And we try and hide how we're feeling. We don't allow ourselves to feel certain things. Certainly with discomfort, for instance, we ignore our body's messages telling us ourselves when it's not in the right space. It's not enjoying something. It's not doing something. If we have a headache, we might take an analgesic pill to kind of dull the pain on it. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do those things, but it is a fact that we don't listen to ourselves and what we really need to do ourselves. And when we do listen to ourselves, when we really listen to the sounds of our body, then our bodies start to speak to us and tell us what they really need. So that's the first exercise, that simple breathing and going in. The second exercise wasn't particularly for lung health. It's just about connecting and bringing into presence with each other. It's a simple exercise again, just breathing with each other in community and connecting with each other. I start all of my meetings now, all my one-on-ones, all my workshops, all my seminars, always with that simple exercise now. Just breathing, making eye contact. It doesn't have to be a kind of full-on scary stare at people. I'm not trying to freak people out. So we have to be a bit careful with that, because it's a really powerful thing to do, to make eye contact and breathe, but it is so powerful to do. So that is our first kind of couple of exercises, first things that you can take away, using the breath to go inside and check in, and using the breath to connect with people. Any questions so far, or any points that people would like to say? I always offer a space to share after a breathwork exercise or technique. So would anyone like to share anything after those little things? Eric, go ahead. You're muted. There you go.
Do you want us to breathe through our mouth, our nose, or in one, out the other? Or
with that technique, it doesn't matter. It's what's comfortable. One of the exercises I'll be teaching later is about nose breathing. So generally, unless specified otherwise, I always encourage people to breathe in through their nose. So unless it's a particular technique, I always encourage nose breathing, just because our nose is designed for breathing and there's so much more apparatus in there to breathe with. But for a simple exercise, almost like an emotional exercise, it's all going to be up to the person. Okay, anything else before we start? Any questions about what the big structure looks like of this? Okay, now next exercise that I want to do is to just try to touch base on what happened when you went inside and you checked in with how you're feeling, how you're physically feeling. And I'm going to give you a space to share about that, how you are physically feeling. And we're going to go around and I'm going to ask people in turn what they would like to check in with. And you may want to just check in with how you are feeling physically or emotionally right now. But you can also tell me about why you've come here, what you would like from the hour that we've got as well. Okay, so when you went inside, what did you physically feel? What did you emotionally feel? And maybe what you would like from this kind of hour together, or what's brought you here. We all good with that? We'll see a thumbs up. Okay, now I feel I am going to pause the recording here because I want this to be a held space. So if you do wish to talk about something that's emotionally happening for you, you are held in that and know that it is confidential. Okay, so if you're watching this on the recording, we'll be checking out and then checking back in once this exercise is complete. So if you're watching this on recording, we just all checked in with each other, and we checked in with about how we were physically feeling and kind of what we were doing here and what we wanted to. So if you're watching this, I really encourage you maybe to comment below, check in with yourself. What is it that you would like from this? And what are you feeling right now? And comment about it. Because when we speak our truth, and we're witness doing that, and that can be witnessed by speaking in front of people like we are doing now, like I'm doing right now, but it can be witnessed just by writing things down. It changes. It increases the power of your words, and it makes it real. It validates what you are feeling. And when you're honest about what you're emotionally feeling and physically feeling, and that is then a space for healing, a space for transformation. So I really encourage you to do that. This is a held and a safe space, so it's safe to do that. We have to use our judgment and discernment about when it's wise to speak our truth and to speak how we really are. I would love to see it happen more and more with everyone's day-to-day lives. and maybe one day it will. So that's our first couple of exercises about emotional honesty, about authenticity, about using our breath to come into presence with ourselves and others. Should we move on to some breath work exercises, guys? Yeah, we ready for that? Okay, so this workshop is based on a course that I've got called Breathwork for Lung Health, and we're going to go through some of those exercises that I have in that course. We'll also leave the space open if other people have got exercises that they would like to share as well. So it's not just me leading. I like to make this a collaborative process. The first technique we're going to do is called a lung stretch. So I do this before I pretty much do any physical exercise. Throughout the day. I do it at the beginning of the morning day when I wake up, and I do it when just before I go to bed. It doesn't take very long, maybe a minute or two to begin with. Okay, so once at the beginning, once in the evening is a great time to do it, but also just before exercise. The benefits of this, it increases the elasticity of our lungs, so it makes it kind of more malleable. And it also increases the capacity of our lungs, how much we can actually hold. And it's very simple. I'll just explain it first and then we can just do it together. We inhale to our full capacity through our nose. And there is a technical reason for that, because we'll be able to inflate our lungs more when we breathe slowly in through our nose. We hold it for 3 seconds. We take a sip more. We hold that for 3 seconds. And then we take a sip more again. And we'll find, even though we're at our capacity, we can still increase as our lungs gently expand with that volume. Does that make sense? Now, because this has got breath holds, there is a slight contraindication if you've got high or low blood pressure, or you're prone to fainting. You should do this very gently, preferably sitting down, not standing up, especially not standing up quickly. But always with any breath work, we go to our own limits. We take responsibility for our own experience, and we go to a level that feels comfortable for us. Are we all okay with those kind of the guidelines and boundaries? We good with that? See a thumbs up from everyone? Okay. So sitting down in a comfortable position, preferably feet on the floor, unless you're cross-legged on the floor. Spine nice and straight. And then slowly breathe in through your nose until you're full. And when you're full, hold. 1, 2, 3. And then breathe in more until you're full. 1, 2, 3. And then a sip more. 1, 2, 3. And then exhale gently. And we're going to go straight into another round. And it may help if you want to put your hands on your lungs so you can feel that happening. So when you're ready, inhale through the nose. Hold. 2, 3. Inhale more. 2, 3. Inhale more. 2. And then exhale through the nose. And final time. Inhale fully. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale more. 2, 3, 4, 5. And again. 2, 3, 4, 5. And more if you can. And just a sip more. And then exhale slowly and gently. And then when you're ready, just give yourself a sort of shake or a tap or something just to kind of Bring your body back. So that is, again, like all the best exercises, really, that's a very simple one. It's a lung stretch that increases your capacity and your elasticity of your lungs. It can be done anytime, any number of times. Just be a little careful about the breath holds or about your position that you're doing it in. And maybe if you've got low or high blood pressure, be really gentle with that. Simple, anyone can teach it. So Fiona, easy to teach in your classes, that one. Any questions around that exercise? It's very simple. Okay, let's move on to the second exercise that I use regularly for lung health, which is almost the exact opposite of a lung stretch or a lung fill. It's a lung clearing and a lung emptying. Okay, and we're going to do two different variations on this. I'm going to lead one, and then I'm going to ask someone else to lead the second part of this. So the idea behind this next exercise is to clear your lungs, to empty your lungs. Now, if you have got congestion in your lungs, so that might be kind of fluid or phlegm, it's really good to help clear that. Now, I know from kind of chest infections, when your lung seizes up and gets full of gunk, it's difficult to breathe. So this exercise is about kind of clearing that kind of gunk. Now, if you have got a chest infection and your lungs are very delicate, or maybe if you've got COPD, you have to go a bit gently with this. You know, if it's feeling irritated or hypersensitive, you should really go very gentle with this. But if you're able to do it, again, always we go to a depth that is comfortable for us. So as well as clearing the kind of fluid and congestion, it's also very just good for clearing stale air. Because if you imagine our lungs of the alveoli at the bottom, air doesn't get trapped, but it doesn't always exchange properly and fully. So the exercises, these two exercises that we're going to do now, really help the kind of clearing out of old and stale air as well. Does all that make sense? There was a viral video, it went viral about 2 months ago in the UK, of a doctor demonstrating this technique in hospitals, and I was taught it by my wife, who's a nurse. And you know, nurses generally know all the cool things to do, and it's not the doctors that know these things, it's the nurses. So she taught me this technique because it's a technique that they use with people you know, with lung conditions and health. And the version that I was taught, we inhale fully. I'll just demonstrate it and then I'll lead us in it. We inhale fully through the nose. We exhale fully. Then we place our mouth into the crook of our arm and cough. Like that. Okay? So it's, again, very simple. And you can cough as much or as little as you wish. Cough into your hands if that's easier, or tissue or anything like that. Does that make sense? Any questions around that? Okay. Well, let's go for that. So just check that you're in a comfortable position. And you can also change the position you do this. Sometimes leaning over is quite good for this as well. Because the different way you put your body means different areas of your lungs open up and the air will go into those different areas. So this is, again, one to play around with. So let's inhale fully. Exhale fully. And then when you're ready, and we'll do that twice more. So inhale fully. Exhale fully. Do that one last time. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. Okay, give us a quick check. Okay, so any questions, any responses, anything you particularly noticed with doing that technique? You can cough in different styles. You can do a light cough, you can do a heavy cough. Like even now, I can feel my lungs are a little bit sensitive from that. So again, this is one to go quite gently with if you're feeling delicate in your chest. But in terms of like clearing congestion, it is really a very powerful one to do. So the second technique we're going to do for emptying or clearing lungs is a pranayama technique, which is essentially the same physiological kind of, the same technical thing we're doing. We're going to be clearing stale air from our lungs, but we're going to be doing something called breath of fire, or Kapalabhati breathing is the Sanskrit name, if I haven't pronounced that right, which is where we use our diaphragm muscles, our bellies, to really pump. We do this on a empty lungs, and we use our belly to kind of really push in and to force our diaphragm up quickly, which will obviously clear some of the stale air. Now, Karen, I'm going to invite, and you can by all means just say, no, I don't want to do this. How would you feel about leading us in a couple of rounds of Kapalabhati? Would you like to do that?
If you want me to? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So for Anna and Sarah, who came in a bit late, I like this to be a collaborative workshop. So I do ask people if they would like to step up and lead. So it's not just me talking. So Karen, would you like to have a go?
Yeah. Has anybody not done it before? Yeah. Just if you practice, just go like you're blowing on glass. It's more on the exhale. So you're coming in with the navel. So you go. And then bring it into your nose. So you go to your navel, and it's coming up into your. It's quite a fast breath.
Okay, how long should we do it for? Do you want me to time it?
A minute.
A minute. I'll time it for a minute then, okay?
Okay. Just keep your spine straight and your chin aligned. Your shoulders back. Relax. You want to start now, so.
Okay, we're halfway through. And
breathe in and hold your root lock, your pelvis and your belly button. Hold your breath for a minute. And just relax. Breathe out.
amazing, Karen. Thank you for doing that.
That's all right.
So Kapalabhati, breath of fire. Is there anything else you can tell us about that breath, Karen?
It's very energizing. It heats up the body. It's very good for your metabolism. It massages all your inner organs as well. So it's very good for your digestive system. It clears your lungs. And yeah, it's really, if you're feeling really tired or really knackered, just do that, and it'll give you a bit of energy.
Yeah, all of those things for sure. Contraindications, I've heard that if you're in early or unstable pregnancy,
you don't do
you've got to be really careful
or if you're on your moon cycle.
Yeah. So there are slight, guidance
really high blood
around,
pressure as well, don't do it.
or high blood pressure around that as well. And you can play around with it. You can try it with your mouth open, for instance. You can do it with not breathing at all as well. In fact, we're going to lead on to that, I think. So any questions about that at the moment? Go ahead, Fiona.
I felt I was hyperventilating.
Okay.
Slow it down, and it don't start off. I go quite quickly, but when you're starting, you have to do it a lot slower. Just get into your own rhythm and build it up from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just felt that I was taking in more oxygen than my body was needing.
Yeah, it feels
So
like
I just
that.
felt that it makes you go lightheaded.
Yeah, it does. When you first do it, it does. But just
So-
slow it down and do it at your own pace.
Okay, and so as soon as you feel you're hyperventilating, you just then regulate your breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think when my clients, a lot of them say, when I'm doing deep, slow breathing with Pilates, the risk is they're hyperventilating because their body's getting too much oxygen.
Yeah.
So their brain is telling them that that they don't need to breathe at that level.
I would say here that there's hyperventilating as a fact in itself. There isn't anything wrong with that.
Okay.
If it's there's nothing wrong with hyperventilating. That means just breathing, more than you need to. It's when that feels uncomfortable or it feels that it's not right for you in your body.
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong. If you're capable, if you're in a space to do that, and that feels good, play around with it. It won't cause you any damage doing that.
No, it doesn't. It just makes you feel lightheaded, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's fine. We're built to withstand that. And that's almost like another muscle you could practice by going into that space.
Okay.
And to going that.
Okay. Thank you.
And also, I was listening to this top Kundalini woman the other day. I do breath work with, and she said that there's a saying that all of us have only got a certain amount of breaths in our lifetimes, but apparently that doesn't apply to breath of fire. So that's nothing to worry about as well. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take a breath of fire now, and we're going to extend it with 2 other pranayama techniques. Okay, so we're going to do breath of fire to begin with, and then we are going to go into Uddiyana Bandha, which is your central kind of lock here. And we're going to empty on an exhale. We're going to kind of pump our stomach empty on an exhale. And then we're going to take an inhale, and then we're going to do something called lion's breath. How many people have not seen lion's breath before? Okay, lion's breath is amazing. Okay, this is the breath work that you get to really, really look silly and stupid in and scare everyone else. Okay, it looks like you stick your tongue out, roll your eyes up and go like this. So you get to do really fun with that. Okay, and again, that will all, like what we're doing technically here, we're going to use it to clear our lungs. There's all sorts of energetic benefits around all of these practices, but we're looking at the moment just from what it is physically doing. So we're going to do breath of fire. We're then going to, on an exhale, absolutely empty, we're going to pump our stomach. So it's a bit like breath of fire, but we're kind of really pulling our stomach up. And then we're going to take an inhale, and then we're going to do lion's breath all together. Okay, does that make sense? So this is like 3 breath techniques in one here. Okay, we're just going to do the breath of fire for 30 seconds. Okay, we all good with that? I'll talk it through as we're doing it. Okay, so comfortable position, and then let's go with breath of fire. Five, 3, 2, 1. Exhale fully, and then pump your stomach as long as possible. And then when you're ready, inhale. And give yourself a shake. Okay, Fiona, I know you have to go now, so you can catch up the rest of this on catch up. Thank you for coming along. Anna, I saw you laughing away during that one. What did you think of that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will practice first. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologise at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. Eric has to go as well. He's got hiccups, so he's struggling to practice with that. So, again, what we're doing here, we're clearing the lungs. And you know what? Breathwork can be fun as well. Too many of these practices are just like serious and like you have to sit on your meditation cushion or you're on your yoga mat. No, I don't hold of that. I think this should be fun and joyful, and we should like enjoy ourselves and laugh at ourselves doing that. Any other questions around that, or anything else anyone would like to say? Sarah, how did you find that from someone who's got, you know, COPD you mentioned? Do you want to just unmute yourself?
Yeah, that last lion's breath there definitely brought on a bit of a coughing fit. It's fine though, because like, you know, I mean, I got rid of a lot of congestion just before the lockdown. It was still quite wintry and cold, and I used a nebulizer, which I still do every day, just a handheld one with colloidal silver and iodine, and that's fantastic. And then of course all my lovely oils, which have got breathe and menthol and Siberian fir and pine and all the rest. But that, yeah. It's just clearing. It's lovely. It's very clearing. And that's what I want, because I want a better depth and clarity of breath.
Absolutely. Great. Okay. Well, that little combination there was taught to me by my yoga teacher when I lived in Exeter, Fran Allen, at a studio called Derek the Dog. And we used to start every practice with like, you know, Kapalabhati, and then doing our Uddiyana Bandha, and then like all roaring at each other with our lion's breath, seeing who could not burst out laughing first. So should we just do one more round of that? Okay, I think before we move on. So let's start 30 seconds of breath of fire, Kapalabhati. Five. Inhale. Exhale fully. And then pump your stomach for as long as possible. When you're ready, inhale. Give yourself a shake. And you see, Anna, if you do it, then you can't see anyone else and you don't laugh.
I'm not laughing at you. No. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I don't mind being laughed at.
No. Never.
I definitely don't mind being laughed at. As a teacher,
No.
if you can't laugh at yourself, you're in the wrong job. And it is.
No.
Okay, has anyone got any questions or anything to say around that? So the contraindications always just with breath of fire, early unstable pregnancy or on your moon cycle, maybe skip that one. High or low blood pressure, especially with those breath holds and the pumping along the Uddiyana Bandha, that can be really powerful as well, really clearing. But again, always go to a depth of that you feel comfortable with. Lion's breath, obviously it can make your throat feel a bit sore afterwards. Yeah, so just go a bit gently with that as well, but it won't cause I think it would be difficult for you to roar so much you would rip your vocal cords. I've never heard of anyone doing that. I suppose it might be possible, but so just go to a depth that you think about that. And it's, obviously, if you're doing this with other people, we have to be really mindful of closing our mouths or doing that into a tissue or something like that, especially at the moment. Okay, shall we move on? I'm going to ask. I know I'm a bit sad that Eric and Fiona couldn't make it for this bit, because I was hoping to put them on the spot and ask if they had a breath technique that they would like to share. But Anna or Sarah, is there a technique you would like to share that you got that you might like to share with us? And it's fine if you don't have one. Nothing from Sarah. How about you, Anna?
Well, I'm actually a breathing coach or facilitator, but I just got my certificate very recently, so I'm learning. But the modality I know is transformational breath.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with this one.
Oh, yeah.
Quite intense, breathing through the mouth. It's very gentle, but yet very powerful technique. So I don't know. Do you want me to tell about it, or
why don't you? The technique is one that I teach mostly. Conscious connected breathing. That's what I do. Most of my workshops are in that. This one is the kind of odd one. Obviously, they're normally like long sessions for an hour or 3 hours if you're doing Stan Groff's holotropic breath work. But it is, even in just a short burst, it's very, very powerful and very healing. So I wonder if you could maybe just very quickly explain it, and then maybe lead us in maybe just a couple of minutes of it. How does that sound?
Oh my goodness! Oh, okay. I
Would you
wasn't
like to do
prepared,
that?
but anyway, I'll just try it. It's okay. I'll just try it.
Give it a go.
Transformational breath technique. It works on 3 levels: the physical, emotional, mental, and also the spiritual. And it's not like they're all like the first level, the second, or the third one. They are like, how do you say, they blend in all together. But very intense. The first level is the physical level. Why? Because if you don't do like a kind of body work or some kind of work when you can release emotions of things, when you start conscious breathing or connected breathing, you will feel the energy. You will feel it move through your body. So this is like the physical, but by breathing using connected breathing, you will open up your whole your system, your breathing system. So this is like the first level, the physical. You will start use your breathing system again, like when you was a baby, when you was born. And then the second level is the emotional or mental. By open up your system, your breathing system, all the pent up emotions or feelings or whatever, all the things that we are trapped, we are pent up in our system, they can start coming on the surface. And if you keep breathing through it, then you like, it's like walking backwards. You like turn the process back. Do I say it right? And so this is like, for me, it's like cleaning up your unconscious, all the things that we hold on to or we are not aware of. They are staying in our system. Our body, it's like it contains everything. And by breathing through when you feel something coming up, like emotion or resistance, by breathing through it and just try to observe it, you heal yourself. So for me, I'm saying like, feel it to heal it, because for me everything is about to feel. And yeah, so this is like the second level. And when you created all this space within your subconscious, you will get the entry to the third level, or well, actually, it's your own wisdom that's within yourself. So you might get an answer about something that you were thinking about a long time, or well, you know, spirituality is for everyone is different. So but I see it in the most cases, it's like the entry to your own wisdom within yourself.
Mm,
So
beautiful. And
yeah,
how do you
it's
teach
like
the technique for it?
what do you mean? How?
What is the
Uh,
breathing technique that you use for this?
okay, we're breathing through the mouth, and the focus is on the inhale. So the inhale is active, and the exhale is just you just dropping it, just letting go, not pushing, but just letting go. Why? Because how we breathe, this is how we live. If you inhale, it's like, you know, it's taking the life in. Why? Because breath, air, it's life. So if someone is not breathing in completely, but shallow, it might say something about the way how someone is approaching the life. For example, it's personal, but yeah, it's okay, I can share it. In my case, I used to smoke for a very long time, and it was like unconscious death wish for me in my case. I know it not only from breath work, but also in other kinds of things. So I was smoking, so I was just, you know, shutting my life. So this is why in this technique we focus on the inhale, because it's like taking life in. And exhale is just drop it. It's letting go. It's also someone's ability to, you know, accept things and just let it go, not holding on to. Because in this, otherwise, oh yeah, and it's also, it's like the diaphragm, how do you say?
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm breathing.
Diaphragm.
So with this diaphragm, I'm sorry, this part. Um, Yeah, and if someone holds tension or not letting things go easily, they will feel like this part will be like tense. So, no?
Like, that's great.
Sorry,
Really
I'm
good.
sorry.
That is
Sorry.
very passionate. I love it. So how about we do this? I would feel safe, I think, for doing this for maybe a couple of minutes, if you're happy with that.
Yeah, yeah. So technically, it's just you can close your eyes, then you can go deeper, and then just follow me. Just I hope you can hear me. Just follow me.
Okay, and I'll time it for 2 minutes.
Okay. Breathing in, active in, and open your mouth. Your mouth open. Yeah. Just relax your jaw. Active on the inhale, and exhale, just drop it. And drop. And in. And try to bring your breath deeper in the belly. Try to start from the belly. And drop. And drop. And in. And now take the no pauses between the in and out breath. So connect your in and out breath. In and out. In, out. And drop. couple more breaths. Just close your eyes for a couple of seconds and feel what's happening inside of your body. Just observe what's happening. Thank you.
Amazing.
And you know, this technique, you can get a dry throat, or it's, some people, you know, you can feel resistance, or in different ways. Resistance can show up like emotion, or, you know, your ego starts to, but yeah. If you just breathe through it until you're on the other way, on the other side of the fear or the resistance, yeah, it's like the freedom. So.
Amazing, Anna. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
This is mainly what I teach as well. A variation of this conscious connected breath or conscious breathing. I was taught by Alchemy of Breath, which is a different school to transformational breath, but it's very similar. So it's beautiful for me to be led in a very short breath work for this. And I think it's also it's very appropriate for a breath work for lung health. I really think it is. A short little burst like that, 1 or 2 minutes as a daily practice, is transformational. Maybe more than any other breathwork technique for me. Having a daily practice of conscious breathing, 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 breaths, whatever it is, in the morning and the evening, really changed me. It transformed me. It changed the way that I thought and I felt. It felt like I had upgraded my operating system. I felt like I was functioning at a higher level. So I think it's really good to do in this environment as a breathwork for lung health. I wouldn't advise anyone doing this longer by themselves without a facilitator for more than 5 minutes. Especially if you've not done this before, it's a really powerful technique. So don't do this if you're inexperienced by yourself for the first time. Find a facilitator. Luckily, there's a lot of breathwork facilitators out there. Now, I run free online breathworks every Thursday evening UK time, where we do this for an hour, or it's a 30-minute conscious breathwork, but we spread it out over an hour. That's on Thursday evenings. Alchemy of Breath, my school that I trained with, does it on Sunday. There's a lot of other people who offer free breathworks like this as a facilitated space. Anna, how would people get hold of you if they wanted to find your sessions?
Well, I'm not doing sessions right now. Why? Because I got my certificate like only recently. So, I have to build up the confidence, but I'm also in my own healing journey. I'm like Sarah told, I'm going like very deep also on my own personal journey. So right now I don't feel like very comfortable to being for someone else. So,
sure.
So, but thank
well,
you.
The journey of our own healing becomes eventually the journey of healing for others, because it is our own wounds and our own weaknesses that turn out to be our greatest strengths and the greatest gifts that we bring out into the world. And the more you're willing to go on that journey yourself, the deeper you become a healer, and the more people that you will change when you do this. So.
Yeah, and it was actually never my purpose to become a facilitator. I was just doing it for myself, for my own healing. But I was so impressed, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to become a facilitator. So.
Yes, well, that's inspiring to hear, Anna. That was the reason that happened for me. And I agree as well. And I'm, just in case anyone's watching this on Catch Up, or even Karen and Sarah, I'm starting the next round of my own facilitator training in a couple of months' time. So I am also open to people wishing to find their own healing journey, as well as healing others as well. To take people on that journey, because it is the biggest journey, you know. Anyway, amazing, Anna. Thank you. That was brilliant. And I'm so glad you brought conscious breathing into a breathwork for lung health. Because if you're watching this, that is the most powerful breathing technique I know. It is the most powerful transformation and healing technique I have experienced. I use this workshop as a kind of gateway drug, if you like, to introduce people with basic exercises and then lead them on to conscious breathwork after that. You know,
Yeah,
I don't want to scare people too much by hitting them with too much too quickly. So thank you for bringing that in. I didn't have to.
Okay.
Okay, shall we, let's move on. Let's just give ourselves a quick shake. And maybe, now you can laugh at this, Anna.
Never.
Okay, amazing. So any little breath work, any little movement always is a good transition between different breathwork techniques, just to take you from one space into another. I'm going to just talk about one final breathwork technique before we finish up today. And I'm a bit sad that Fiona isn't here, and Eric, because they both talked about it before. And this is a really physical technique that I learned from Patrick McKeown and his book, The Oxygen Advantage, which comes from Buteyko, really, who was a breath practitioner in the East under the Iron Curtain in Russia and Moscow. Now, his philosophy was generally we breathe too much for our physical well-being. We breathe too much, mostly through our mouths. You know, we breathe too much was his idea. And firstly, with the mouth breathing, our nose is built for breathing. There's a lot more apparatus inside our nose for just general breathing. And that goes from all the kind of nostril hairs that are there to filter out dust and particles, through all the sinuses which humidify and warm the air, to the cavities where nitrous oxide is produced that sterilizes the air that goes into our lungs. So his idea was, don't breathe through your mouth, breathe through your nose. And this is really breathwork for physical well-being. He doesn't really touch on the emotional or the spiritual levels on this. This is just breathwork purely for physical well-being. And the science that backs it up is something called the Bohr effect, B-O-H-R, which he was a scientist, Niels Bohr, about 120 years ago. And he discovered, so I mean, the idea is we need oxygen, our cells need oxygen for respiration to produce energy. And the more oxygen that we can bring to our cells, the better, the more efficient that they can respire and they can operate at a higher level. That's the kind of general understanding. We want to increase the oxygen at our cellular level to increase efficiency, if you like. And we're going to use breathing techniques to do that. But Niels Bohr discovered something quite counterintuitive. He discovered that the more carbon dioxide is in your blood, the more oxygen your blood can carry as well. Okay, which is a bit counterintuitive. You'd think the more carbon dioxide is in your blood, the less room there is for oxygen. But actually, it's to do with the red blood cells and the amount of hemoglobin in your blood cells. The more carbon dioxide molecules stick onto the hemoglobin, the more oxygen your blood can carry as well. So Buteyko and Patrick McKeown's theory in the oxygen advantage is we want our blood we want to be able to tolerate more carbon dioxide in our blood. We want to get our bodies used to excessive carbon dioxide, which actually means the slight acidification of our blood. So our blood can carry more oxygen to our cells. And there are various techniques which I'll explain in a little while that simulate this. Because essentially what we're doing is we are simulating altitude training. When we go higher up, Our blood gets used to working with less oxygen. Sorry, with less oxygen, and it starts to work more efficiently by carrying more oxygen around. So with these exercises, we are kind of simulating altitude training, and the science behind it is we are letting our bodies tolerate higher levels of carbon dioxide so they can carry more blood around to the cells. I won't go into too much of the science, but does that kind of roughly make sense? Okay, it's something called the Bohr effect, BOHR, discovered about 120 years ago, that the more carbon dioxide in your blood, the more oxygen you can carry. Okay, and the exercises that Patrick McKeown especially encourages for this is breathing through your nose, especially when doing exercise. And when you try and do that for the first time, when you increase aerobic exercise, but you don't breathe through your mouth, it is incredibly uncomfortable. Incredibly uncomfortable, because our natural inclination is, when we're exercising more, is to take more air in. We breathe more fully, but counterintuitively, and then immediately that kind of works at a basic level. But if we learn to kind of not breathe in through our mouth, and we learn to kind of breathe in through our nose, what we're doing is we're training at using our body like a muscle, and we're training it to tolerate more carbon dioxide and therefore work more efficiently. So the practices for this, there's not one exercise that you can do. There is one exercise. It's a philosophy to try and to play around with. Start experimenting doing exercise, and it can be very, very gentle exercise, even just walking up and down. But do it with your mouth closed. And do it for as long as possible until you start to feel that it's too much, and then stop. And you can take some breaths and then stop your exercise. And then maybe when you're feeling recovered, do it again. And you exercise until only with your mouth closed. You don't open your mouth, and you exercise until you feel it's too much, and then you stop. Rather than open your mouth and start breathing, you exercise until you can't bear it anymore, and then you stop. And that will be, at the beginning, it will be, maybe a couple of laps up and down walking. But slowly, you will be able to increase your capacity to exercise with your mouth closed. And what you're doing there, you're strengthening. It's not a muscle you're strengthening. You're increasing your tolerance to carbon dioxide, and therefore you're increasing your efficiency of oxygen respiration. Does all that make sense? Okay, it's a bit of a head switch. Like, breathing less actually is more healthy. But yeah, it is. Especially mouth breathing. Generally, it's not good for you. It's just better to breathe through your nose. But the science behind exercising and wellness and breathing through your nose, it really blew my... I'd been a breathwork facilitator for about a year by the time I discovered this, and it just blew my mind, really, that actually breathing through my nose is so much better, just as a general physical well-being. It's different to conscious breathing. It's a different, we do this for a different reason. And there are different ways you can practice this. Eric hinted at this. He says he breathes through his mouth at night, and he makes sure of this by doing this. And I don't know if you can see that. Can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up. So you can see here, I've taped up my mouth using micropore technique, micropore tape. I mean, you can use it with sellotape or something like that. And so that stops mouth breathing at night. Now, there are other issues around that, like if you suffer from panic attacks or anxiety, waking up suddenly and not being able to breathe through your mouth, is really, can be quite frightening. So that's an advanced technique that isn't right for everyone. But you can try just bringing some consciousness to your mouth position. Making that kind of decision. I'm going to try and only do exercise breathing through the mouth. I'm only going to try and breathe through the day through my nose. I'm not going to breathe through my mouth. And just that consciousness around that starts to make a difference to your physical well-being. Okay. So that's not so much an exercise, but that's a philosophy I want you to take away from this. Nose breathing, as much
What's
as
the
possible.
name? I'm
Uh,
sorry.
I'll write this down actually. The book is called The Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McKeown. Okay, it's in the chat box.
Yeah.
Now, I really recommend this as a book about breathwork to read.
How long would you do that with the tape for? How many nights would you do that for, you reckon?
Well, Patrick McKeown has been doing it for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Esther, who some of you have met, one of my facilitators, she started doing it before me actually, and she said to me, at first I started doing it and my boyfriend just laughed and laughed and laughed at me. But when he saw how well I slept and how much better I was in the morning, she said he started doing it as well.
Oh, wow. What tape did you use?
Micropore tape, like
Bandage.
yeah,
tape.
bandage tape.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Okay.
thank you. I'll try it.
You can buy special, there are special plasters you can get actually that are designed specifically for this, but they're quite expensive, you know.
Yeah.
I just do it with micropore tape.
Okay, thank you. I'll try it.
Now, if you want, I've got a video channel, my YouTube show, where I interview well-known breathwork facilitators. And I've interviewed Jamie on there, Sarah. So if you want to hear Jamie's life story, he's on there. But I also interviewed Patrick a couple of weeks ago as well. So if you want to find out a little bit more about him, I'll just write down my YouTube channel on the chat box as well. There's an interview with Patrick on there as well, which you can have a look at. It's more about his life story, but he does talk a little bit about the philosophy of breathing light. He calls it breathing light to breathe right. So you breathe less if you can. Okay. So I'll just put those two things in the chat box. And when I post the video, I'll put these in the comments as well. Okay. So again, not an exercise, but it's just a philosophy. Breathe through your nose. Breathe lightly during exercise. Breathe lightly and through your nose as much as possible, even if that means you exercise less. Okay. So any questions around that? And no question is too silly. And Anna, I know for me, as a breathwork facilitator, facilitating conscious breathwork, I was like, I don't believe this. Like, that was really challenging for me at first. But now I've understood it and I've taken some of his workshops. I really appreciate what he's doing. Sarah, did you have a question?
Yeah. So do you have any information in terms of people using that who have got lung issues, COPD and stuff like that? Is it strengthening of the lungs? Is it? Yeah, I'm just wondering.
One of the people who comes and runs workshops on my training course, actually, a guy called Anastasis Sanis, who I can put you in touch with, who deals with clients one-on-one. I'm not a Patrick McKeown certified instructor, so I wouldn't want to give detailed advice on this. My feeling is you are increasing all of those things. Yes, you are increasing your respiratory strength, not just at a lung level, at a physical organ level. You're increasing your respiratory fitness at a cellular level, at a sort of biochemical level, because you're getting your body, tolerating your body to tolerate increased acidification of the blood, which means it can handle more oxygen. Okay, so you're going to be going much slower than an athlete in his 20s, in his prime, for sure. It may just be like walking up and down, breathing through your nose.
With just going, when you go on your daily walk, for me,
Yeah.
it's breathing through my nose and just seeing how that actually works. Because I have mild COPD.
Yeah.
I'm not on ventilator, I'm not on inhalers. None of that works for me.
Yeah.
And obviously staying off smoking is crucial. But yeah, I just wanted to, so okay, so the cellular stuff is the most important, really, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's where that type of breathing you're saying gets down to that level to kind of heal the cells to be able to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really powerful. It's a powerful philosophy rather than just a technique. Okay, well, we're approaching the end of our 90 minutes together. So are there any other questions that we might like to think, or any other things that we might like to do before we wrap up?
Could I just say a little something to Anna, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought what you led there was fantastic, and I know you're saying that you're doing a lot of depth work at the moment, so you want to wait. You don't really want to be facilitating and leading, but you led with such strength and like groundedness. It was really held by you, and I felt like any of the stuff that might have come up. So you will be excellent in that.
Yeah.
In that, because you didn't joke about, or I just felt incredibly held, and that particular type of breathing obviously can evoke stuff from childhood and from death, and pain, and all that kind of vulnerability. And because you're looking at that, and you've also qualified, so don't wait too long, honey, because you've got it already. You've got it already.
I'd second that.
Oh my God, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. From my heart. Okay.
Okay, is anything else need to be said?
No, Benedict, I'm just curious, just one, maybe off the topic, because you said you used to smoke as well. Do you feel like improvement after you stop? So the main question is actually, sometimes I feel a bit fear that I did like too much damage to my body. So, but I also try to breathe through it. So my question is like, is it possible to, undo the damage, or not all the way, of course, but...
Good question. My feeling, I'm not a medical professional, it's always going to be on a case-by-case basis. My lungs now are stronger than they have ever been in my life. I'll just say that. That's my own personal experience. But then I suffered from asthma before I was a smoker. I always thought my lungs were going to kill me. I think now my lungs are going to be the things that save me and keep me going longer. So my feeling would be, I don't know if you can undo damage, but you can certainly make your lungs stronger than they ever were. They may not, they may not be as good as they were if you started being a breathwork facilitator in your 20s and you'd never smoked.
Of course, yeah.
But who knows? They may be.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But yes, my answer, my gut feeling is yes, but I can't guarantee that, obviously. But my feeling is,
I know, yeah.
As a smoker, an asthmatic, my lungs are now better than ever.
I feel right now something is happening right now after also this short exercises. Something is happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, I've got a lot of breathworks and stuff that I do. This is a course. It's a free course, which all these exercises are recorded on, and you can upload your own courses on there. That's called Breathwork for Lung Health. And there's lots of other courses on my website that I do. There's a free introduction to breathwork that I've got called Take a Breath, which has got some breathwork techniques. If you're ready to go a bit deeper into your breathwork and on a personal journey, I really recommend my Breathwork Foundation course, which is a 5-week course, which we go into the most powerful techniques and we do some deep personal work. And then I've got the facilitator training as well, which is a year-long commitment, which is very deep. And there's other stuff I do, like the interviews. I just did an amazing one this morning with a lady called Julia Davis in North London. And she's just released a course about prenatal breathing, Breathworks for Birth. So please stay in touch, especially on our Thursday evening online breathing spaces where we do conscious connected breath for an hour. That can be the most astonishing place of healing and transformation. We'll finish doing some breathworks. We'll take maybe 10 breaths together, but we're going to do it in a special style We're going to do something called straw breath, which is also very good for COPD, which is something else I've learned from teachings of Patrick McGowan. Our lungs can hold more the more resistance we place on our in-breath. So if we breathe through our nose, for instance, we can hold more in our lungs than we can if we breathe through our mouth, because there's more resistance in through our nose, and so our lungs have more time to kind of relax and open and hold more lungs. This technique we are going to use is something called straw breath, which means we're going to make it's possible to do this actually through a straw. Is a good way to do it, but we're going to just like make a very small hole with our lips. The smaller the better. And that like is harder to suck air through, so it increases the resistance, which means our lungs will gently and slowly open, but they'll open up to a fuller capacity. Really, this is another technique they use for people with COPD, by the way, straw breathing. So we'll take maybe 10 breaths together in that style, and then we shall finish up. Okay. So I'm going to unmute everyone so we can all hear ourselves do this. Okay, Sarah and Karen. Actually, perhaps you could unmute yourselves. I don't seem to be able to do that. Let's start taking some straw breath. Maybe one more together. Thank you, everyone, for coming along today.
Thank you.
Sarah, we can't hear you there. Try now.
What time is your class on Thursday?
8:30 p.m. UK time.
And how do you enroll? Do you just go on your breath?
If you go onto the Make Some Breathing Space website, under the free stuff, you'll see a place to register. So it's Make Some Breathing Space.
Really good.
All right, guys, you have a lovely evening and a lovely day wherever you are.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Benedict. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Sarah, bye-bye.